Welcome to Dark Docent. My name is Jake. Join me as I take my friend James down the paranormal rabbit hole, attempting to prove the authenticity of a new case each week. Today's case: the Loch Ness Monster.
Hit the mic physically.
That'll let me know. That's okay. That's a strong enough message. How are you doing today, James?
Not too bad. How are you, Jake?
Not too bad. James just told me that he was trying to figure out a way to not cancel on me today. But it's okay. Now that we're recording, he's not too bad. So
sometimes you just want to not leave the house on this rainy Sunday evening. What can I say?
I get it.
But you know what? I did it for you, for the podcast, for the fan, which is also you.
Yeah, it is. Because it's not you.
I'm here today. I have an IPA beer. It's bitter and gross. And I'm ready to hear some paranormal shit.
That's what we're here for, bud.
I saw a nice mist spray out of that. Never seen before on a Coca-Cola, but it was nice.
Someone's got to hire me for a commercial then. I fucking did that like a pro. Alright. I got a story for you, buddy.
I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, you could.
Maybe next week.
Alright. July 22nd, 1933, Scotland.
Woo! Starting foreign.
We're starting foreign. George and Margaret Spicer are driving down the newly developed road surrounding Loch Ness. It is a warm summer afternoon, the rolling hills bathing in the sunlight, the glistening rays reflecting off the loch's surface, and a light summer breeze culminating to something unnatural. A nice day in Scotland. But the Spicers are about to encounter something far more paranormal than a sunny day in the Highlands this afternoon. As George Spicer turns around a sharp bend, he is confronted by a massive beast. The Spicers describe the creature as having a large body, about 4 feet high and 25 feet long, with the long, wavy neck slightly thicker than an elephant's trunk that they said was as long as the width of the 12-foot road. It's good to have size comparisons in the story. Though they saw no limbs, the creature was hastily lurching across the road, leaving a trail of debris and brush throughout the ground as it crossed. George Spicer describes the beast as, quote, the nearest approach to a dragon or prehistoric animal that he had ever seen in his life. He continued, stating the creature had a long neck, which moved up and down in the manner of a scenic railway. They're very flowery with verbiage.
Very.
According to the Spicers, it seemed to have an animal in its mouth, but by the time they had approached what the creature it had disappeared into the dark depths of Loch Ness. James, have you heard of the Loch Ness Monster, and how much do you know about the Loch Ness Monster?
I, believe it or not, have heard of the Loch Ness Monster.
No.
I did not know that it was from Scotland.
Actually?
Yeah, I had no idea.
I didn't know you didn't know that it was from Scotland.
Literally no idea.
Okay, alright.
It was just a thing.
Where'd you think it was?
I don't know, the Okanagan.
Different monster.
What is that, Ogopogo?
That's Ogopogo! Ding ding ding! Look at you go. Gold star, buddy.
I did not know that the Loch Ness Monster could skedaddle across roads.
Yes.
First time hearing that for sure.
Yep.
And I know that it's not been definitively proven that it's real yet, but I could be wrong.
And that's why we're talking about it on this podcast. Now, Loch Ness Monster, this is a big one.
Right.
It's not a deep cut.
Not a little Loch Ness Monster.
No. Here's a little bit about the loch itself. Loch Ness is the largest body of water in the UK. It's about a mile wide and 22.5 miles long. Now, also, the loch is extremely deep, over 800 feet deep. Another thing that's kind of creepy about the loch is that it has a lot of peat deposits that kind of come down through the valley when it rains, and the deposits create an extremely murky water. Like, as soon as you jump into Loch Ness, you can't see your hand in front of your face under the water.
Nice and disgusting.
100% is fucking disgusting. I'll show you a picture of what it's like under the water.
I'm sure there's not much to see.
There really isn't, but it's kind of astonishing what it looks like. Here's a camera facing down, looking up at the surface, but as you can see, it almost looks abyss-like around them, how black it is.
I would not want to scuba dive in there, that's for sure.
Here's a video right there as well, but have to have like a lot of floodlights on them to see them. Huh. It's a pretty creepy place. Great place for a monster to hide. Loch Ness itself is also attached to the ocean. It's got a river that goes right to the ocean, River Ness. And that actually is a thing that'll come into play when discussing the monster and the theories behind it. Now, the Loch Ness Monster, it's not recent. People have actually... Do you know how far back people have talked about the Loch Ness Monster? Like, when the first sighting was?
Is it before 1933?
It is before 1933. You are technically correct.
I would wager a guess the year 800.
You would be wrong.
Oh.
It goes back even further. The first recorded sighting we have of the monster is the year 565 AD from Saint Columba. He stated that in his memoirs that he was walking up the River Ness when he saw a bunch of people burying one of their comrades. They stated to him that there was a beast in the River Ness that had killed their friend. And he went to the river and, according to legend, baited the creature out, apparently with like some of the people that were there, which is kind of fucked up. He told them to swim and got the creature to come back up, to where he banished the creature using the power of God. Power of God and anime on his side, he banished the Loch Ness Monster.
That did happen a lot back then.
It did happen. It was like the main defense. It was like, that's it. It's done, boys. And even up until like the 1800s, there was military officials who would scour the loch looking for some creature that they stated was in it. This is like military officials. We now have a saint who's seen it. And a man from history. Have you ever heard of Aleister Crowley?
Can't say I have.
You know the song by Ozzy Osbourne, Mr. Crowley?
No.
Okay. Aleister Crowley was once called like the most evil man alive. He started a lot of cults, very into occult stuff. He had a book called the Book of Law. It was like his own religion. And a lot of guys actually followed what he did, like rock stars followed Aleister Crowley occult stuff. A very famous one was Jimmy Page, the guitarist for Led Zeppelin. Now, Aleister Crowley used to have a house on the side of the Loch Ness. In this house, he did blood, sex, magic, had all sorts of weird satanic rituals, you name it. They also rumored that he opened up portals to demons and then left them open in his house. But every morning, he would throw a lamb into the loch to feed his pet, the Loch Ness Monster.
Every morning.
Every morning. He was a little crazy. But this is before Nessie really was a big thing. Before they coined the term Nessie, there was just something creepy in the lake. Moving ahead to 1933, as stated in the story, they just made a road around the loch. There was nothing to really connect the loch previously. It was like you could walk to it, but there was no main roads going around it or anything. So It was a very isolated place. And that's when the sighting started. Now, we talked about the 1933 sighting with the Spicers. That's a very famous one. It was on land.
Right.
The next sighting was the first time we got a picture of the beast.
A picture?
Yes. And I'm going to show you these pictures at a time, because right now, this is like Nessie mania. All right? This is like over the next year, there are so many sightings. And I think there was nothing to do. There was so much going into the daily, a bunch of, I think it was the Daily Mail, or put like money into finding the Loch Ness Monster. I think they invested about $20,000 to go find it. So I'll show you the first picture that was taken. This is known as the Hugh Gray photo. Now, it's extremely blurry. Of course it is.
Of course.
And it's the 1930s. Here's the first picture of the creature.
Yeah, I see it. You've got me convinced. That's
it. It's done.
Well, hold on.
Okay, roll credits. Nope, it's done, guys. 5 out of 5. It's believable.
Taking a second look at this, a little bit of a closer look, perhaps.
Okay.
I can't make out anything in that photo. The water barely looks like water, and there's just a smudge in the middle of the photo.
Can't say it's nothing, though.
I can't say it's nothing. It's definitely... I mean, it might be nothing.
It might, okay, it very well might be nothing.
I assume this isn't the best photo.
It is not the best photo.
Oh, okay. Well, there's still a chance.
That's the first ever photo. And then a few months later, this is in January of 1934, something else was spotted outside of the loch on the road. Just like the first
on the road again.
Just like the Spicer encounter.
Can't wait for the Loch Ness Monster to be on the road again.
The next sighting was by Arthur Grant. Arthur Grant, on January 5th, 1934, claimed that he saw the beast on the road when turning a corner around Loch Ness. This is apparently at around 2 in the morning. He turned it, just spotted the headlight, and it went across the loch. Now, here's the interesting thing about Arthur Grant. Arthur Grant was a veterinarian, so he knew animals, and he described the creature as a plesiosaur. And this is the first time that someone's described the creature as a plesiosaur.
Sorry, you said he was a vet?
He was a vet.
And an expert in dinosaurs?
He just knew his animals. He said the quote that he said was, it looked like a cross between a seal and a plesiosaur. And that's the first time those terms were used to describe the beast. So that's kind of started like the modern day, what we depict Nessie with the flippers, the long neck, the elephant type body. That's kind of where we got it from. All right. Now, full blown. There's all these sightings now.
Everyone.
Okay. Encrypted cases. When there's a sighting of something somewhere from an unreliable source and someone has a blurry photo, that means you have to hunt the beast. This is what they did. Okay? So people were going there trying to find pictures of the Loch Ness Monster.
What else would he do in Scotland in 1934 in January?
Play bagpipes, eat haggis,
Die in the snow?
Die in the snow, probably just be angry. I don't know. I think as both of us we have Scottish heritage, we know.
Did my red beard give it away?
Does my just general angry bitch face give it away? No, but we do. With our Scottish heritage in our families, there's nothing to do in Scotland. That's why lots of them moved here.
Yeah,
honestly.
Yeah,
unfortunately. But so this brought a lot of attention to the loch. People were coming to take a picture. There was, I think, rewards put out by the newspapers and the Times to get pictures of the Loch Ness Monster. And once you get money involved, that's when people are desperate to get a picture of the monster. This attracted a man named Marmaduke Wetherell. An actor and monster hunter.
Perfect combo of careers, I would say.
It's like the guy from King Kong, like the director, like just director, actor, monster hunter. This is him. This is the guy.
The perfect man. The perfect Scotsman.
I don't think he was Scottish.
Oh.
I think he was just a guy who came to look for the monster. I forget where he's from, but anyway. So Marmaduke Wetherell looked for the monster, and he claimed to find tracks of the beast.
Tracks? What kind of tracks?
They were round, almost brontosaurus-like.
Alright, we're getting weird with it. I like it.
Yes. Now, if you recall, Loch Ness Monster's got flippers.
Right. That's what I would have assumed.
That's what's been described in the 2 sightings we have so far. The creature on land is that it's got flippers. So, people quickly figured out Marmaduke Wetherell had taken his ashtray and printed circles into the ground and then said that they were tracks of the Loch Ness Monster.
Unbelievable.
I know. Well, that was the case that it was like, okay, it's all a hoax. It's been proven this is a hoax now. Didn't stop people from looking for the beast. And we got more photos that year in 1934. And I'm going to show you more photos.
More photos, just less than a year later, hey?
This is all within the same year. Like between, I think, October 1933 till, I think, the summer of 1934. There's been several pictures. This is the first time that a lot of populace have come to the loch.
Now, I don't know if you'll know the answer to this, but that first sighting on the road?
Yeah.
What's on the other side of the road? Where was it coming from?
It's like if you look at the loch, it's literally just a valley and just like highland farmland all around it.
It was just out in the fields, having a good time.
I don't know. It was kind of like it was on the road when they saw it.
Right.
So it could have been basking in the sun. Who knows? You know, it's an unknown creature. All I know is that it's weird to see, and they were shocked by it. And there's been less and less sightings of the creature on land as more people have gone to the loch. Maybe that has something tied into it. Maybe it doesn't exist at all, and they made up a story. These are all possibilities at this point.
That's what we're getting to the bottom of, though.
2 guys in a basement.
2 guys in a basement. A beer, a Coke Zero.
Damn right. That's the key to success.
And the world at our fingertips.
2 guys, a basement, microphones, and drinks. That's the key to success to finding any paranormal creature.
Now, while you're finding these photos, I did a quick Google search. The largest animal in Scotland is apparently a deer.
That is correct.
And the smallest is the merlin.
Now, we had the Lachlan Stewart photo. This is the picture that was taken.
All right. This time is clearly water. There are some hills in the background. And there's 3 black lumps in the water.
That is a perfect description of what you're looking at right now.
I could only assume it's the humps of a serpent wiggling its way through the lake.
One with any logic whatsoever would assume that, yes. You are correct, sir. Good on you.
Very astute from my end, I would say.
I would say so too. I'm proud of you. You get 2 gold stars. You're doing good this episode.
3 more to go and I can leave.
Is that the goal?
5 stars and I can get out of the basement.
If it was only that simple. The next photo that came up is the most famous photo of the Loch Ness Monster.
Oh, I can picture it already. This one I'm sure I've seen.
This is the surgeon's photo.
See, what makes it so funny, in my opinion, is you just look at any of the little ripples of water around it.
They don't match up, right?
And you think, hey, that's the size of a thumb.
Okay.
And I think that's not a real... I mean, obviously it's a real photo.
Mhm.
I don't think it's a photo of a Loch Ness Monster. And if it was, I think that monster would be a foot in length tops.
See, looking at this full image, you would definitely think that. And even since I was a kid, as an avid enthusiast of the paranormal, I always thought this photo was strange. But what made it famous is the fact that this is what the image looked like when they printed it in the newspapers around the world.
Zoomed in.
They zoomed it all in, and they made it look like it was bigger. Now, the reason I show you these is a pretty big time. It might be kind of strange that I'm just kind of skimming through this. There's a reason for that.
I can only assume it's because there is a lot more evidence to get to.
Actually, yes, but also lots of people focus on these photos. But I'm gonna review them with you. Okay, that first photo.
Right, the smudge.
The smudge. What do you think that is? If you were gonna think about it as anything, that was the
a plank of wood in the water.
Okay, close. That photo has since been more or less confirmed to be Hugh Gray's dog fetching a stick from the loch.
Oh.
And if you look at it again, you can see the ears and the tail coming out of the water.
Yeah, I'd buy that. I'd see that being a dog.
That's kind of what
1933 moving while a photo's being taken.
Yeah, that's kind of just what it is, and the photo couldn't pick up the splashes very well. Now we're gonna go into the Lachlan Stewart photo.
What was the shutter rate back then?
Not good. I don't know.
What were digital cameras even doing?
They were fucking falling behind. They were. That's what I think. Now we're going to the Lachlan Stewart photo. That's the one with the several humps in the water. What do you think that is?
Sorry, let me take one more look at that and give you a good, honest answer.
That's all I want from you, buddy.
I think it's the serpent.
Is that your final and honest answer?
No, but I don't think I can come up with a better answer off the top of my head here.
That is several hay bales.
Hay bales.
That the guy plopped in the lake.
In the lake. Sorry I didn't guess that. My bad.
Yeah, I'm sorry that it wasn't the first thing coming to your mind, but that is several hay bales in the water.
I can kind of see them floating in a weird way looking like that for sure.
They're actually not floating. They're actually just like right on the beach.
Oh.
And the guy just put them in and then put the camera where you couldn't see the beach.
And is that confirmed?
That is confirmed.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Now, I want you to remember that this photo, the surgeon's photo, is the one that based the entire legend of modern day Nessie sightings.
Yeah, that is the one that I have seen.
Yes, 100%.
Probably the worst one I've seen too, honestly.
I agree with you. Now, there's been several rumors about this photo. Some say it was an escaped elephant and it's the trunk coming out of the water.
An escaped elephant.
Yeah, like an elephant got out of the zoo, and because there was one of actually the guy who put the big reward on the monster was a circus, a guy who ran the circus.
So
I think it was P.T. Barnum.
There were elephants in the area.
There were elephants in the area, and
there were escaped elephants in the area.
I think actually there was confirmed that one had escaped, like close to the date of this. However,
what was it doing under the lake?
That's how they swim. If you actually look at how elephants swim, they go in the water and they put their trunks up.
Oh,
that's actually how they do it.
I could see that.
So let's look at it again.
It'd still be a pretty small trunk. Let's be honest. Like those, unless it gets pretty wavy, there
could have been a smaller elephant.
Like pretty small waves.
Yeah.
Pretty small trunk. If it was a trunk.
There's been several rumors about this. Some say it was a swan. Well, the actual truth came out in 1993. So the photo was taken by Robert Kenneth Wilson, and he was a London gynecologist, and that's why they call it the surgeon's photo. No, I don't know. This is their understanding of medical stuff back then. You're a gynecologist, you're a surgeon. That's just how it goes. That was 1930s Scotland. Turns out, Robert Kenneth Wilson knew Marmaduke Wetherall, and Marmaduke Wetherall, being shunned and shamed for being caught on his hoax, paid Robert Kenneth Wilson to get a toy submarine and put a toy dinosaur on the top of it, float it in the loch, and take a photo and send it to the newspaper. He said this on his deathbed in 1993. And there are still people to this day that argue that this photo is real. It is confirmed not real. Don't listen to anyone who says it is real. It is not real. It's a complete hoax.
Yeah, no, I believe it's a hoax. I trust the man on his deathbed.
There's been several more things coming out about the Loch Ness Monster, sightings all over. The chief of police, I think in Inverness, Scotland, claimed that it was absolutely 100% real, just a baseless fact with no evidence to prove it. He just stated it. There was a video taken in 1938. It's the fakest video I've ever seen. It looks like something being tugged behind a boat, and there's even like that old school music. And something going, "There's the monster now, coming across the lake," like talking in that old 1950s voice.
Yes, a nice chap from back in the day.
Yes, like there's the Loch Ness Monster now. There he goes crossing the lake. The loch is completely secluded for the monster, and he enjoys his time here.
An American broadcaster in Scotland.
It's pretty fucking funny, honestly. So yeah, they confirmed that it was a toy submarine bought from Woolworths. So as World War II came around, there's a lot more things on people's mind.
Such as?
Nazis. That was a pretty big deal.
That's right.
In the late 1930s, early 1940s. Mm-hmm. So surprisingly, the Nessie sightings kind of died down for about 5-6 years.
People had other stuff to do finally.
There was a sighting from a soldier who was guarding the loch, but no proof, no evidence whatsoever, just a wartime story.
There were a lot of drugs in use back then, I hear. Such as meth.
That was more on the German side, but yeah. Anyway, it was actually even reported in an Italian newspaper that the Loch Ness Monster had been killed by Italian bombings on the Loch Ness.
Fucking Italians, man.
I think that was brought out in 1942. There was an Italian newspaper that we killed the Loch Ness Monster.
An Italian bombing killed the Loch Ness Monster.
That was apparently something that they put in the newspaper, yeah.
Why were the Italians bombing the lake?
They gotta get that monster. Who knows what you could do with that thing? You got that in World War II, you're unstoppable.
That's fair. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, fuck. If you could ride a water beast, weaponize the Loch Ness. That's what I'm saying. Weaponize the Loch Ness Monster.
You know it can go on land. You know it can go in the water.
You realize how many lake monsters we got in Canada right now? If we could weaponize those things, it'd be unstoppable.
51st State my ass. We got the Ogopogo.
Yeah, fuck you. They say, here's my missile, here's my sea monster. Go fuck yourself. After that, there's the legends surrounding the loch for a long time. People still telling stories. But in the 1950s, we started getting something that could help us out. Technology.
Oh.
And science.
Cryptid's greatest enemy.
Science and technology. Yeah, actually, in 1955, they did their first sonar readings of the lake, and they actually got something. Now, I do have an image of the sonar.
Image of the sonar.
Yeah, that's like all they had. It doesn't look like anything. It looks like a blip. If you want to see it, that's what it looks like.
Somehow worse than the first photo of the Loch Ness Monster.
It's just a blip. It's a sonar reading. So the thing about it is that it was actually on the sonar, the way they could measure it, it was about a 20 to 30 foot long object, and it was swimming. It wasn't stationary like a log. So they didn't know what that was. They knew it was a creature. Now, there are things in the lake, in the loch, that come in through the ocean. Seals are commonly seen in the lake, and rarely whales, but not that often.
But not unheard of.
Not unheard of, but not often. So this actually sparked some interest. People started looking at the loch again. What are you smiling at? You looked up something. What did you look up?
I looked up Loch Ness whale, and I've seen some hilarious photos.
That's a great one, isn't it? That we see James just looked up a photo of an obviously fake Loch Ness Monster sculpture in a pond, kind of smiling at the photo almost. And he's overjoyed with that.
Not a whale.
Definitely not a whale. You're right there. You know, I'm glad you got that down at least. This kind of sparked some interest in the loch again. And there was another photo that came out that was apparently taken in 1955, but came out in a 1958 book about the mystery of the Loch Ness Monster. This is called the Peter McNab photo, and it's famous because it's right beside Urquhart Castle, a pretty famous monument when you think of Scotland. It's actually a pretty good photo. There's something there.
There's something there.
Yeah.
Could be a log.
Could be a log. Some say that it was like a frame over a frame. But
for everyone who can't see the photo, it's a small lump in the water.
It's a small
and a bigger lump beside it.
Well, small is relative. Well, small, it's like, the thing is that they actually did put sizes to it. There's actually a freighter that passes by that castle in the loch, or not a freighter, but like a ship. And they found it in the same location in modern times and measured it up. And this lump is about a 20 to 30 foot size. So the size is consistent with other sightings, which is interesting. If the photo is real, most people point to that it is, but again, no confirming, no unconfirming. It also could be a wake, who knows, a good time photo. But it's something. It started to spark interest.
Right.
And then in the 1960s, that's when we got the first real video of the monster.
A video?
A video, sir. Now, I do warn you, it is a video from 1960. Mm-hmm. This is before the Bigfoot video that everyone talks about, okay?
Right. So that masterpiece.
That masterpiece, which it is.
Absolute cinema.
That's what some guy told me last week. Last week I was at a PowerPoint party and I did a PowerPoint presentation on that Bigfoot, and I was told, quote, absolute cinema. So put that in your pipe and smoke it, whatever it's worth.
There you have it.
There you go. It's confirmed. This is known as the Dinsdale film. It was taken by aeronautical engineer Tim Dinsdale. And it's an interesting photo.
Aeronautical engineer?
Yes. Here's the thing about the Loch Ness. I think part of the thing that people are like interested by it is that it attracts a lot of like genuine scientists and researchers.
Of course.
Like, it's true. Like, it's like, you know, other things like, you know, Bigfoot, lots of hacks, lots of rednecks, lots of, you know, country bumpkins, whatever you want to say. You know, people see that as unreliable. But, you know, the Loch, it's like, you get a lot of guys, like an aeronautical engineer coming to take a look. You get generals from the military, you know, all sorts coming to take a look. It's crazy. It's actually kind of weird. Like, it's weird to be that interested in these things.
I mean, the age of exploration is over. May as well explore monsters.
This is true. Honestly, early 19th century, prime time, or early 20th century, prime time monster hunting, I would say. King Kong just came out. It was all the rage. It's what we're all about. So, here's the Dinsdale film. What do you think of that?
Well, it looks like it was filmed at night.
Mm-hmm.
In 1960.
Yep.
In a lake.
Yep.
And
checks all the boxes. It's real.
Oh, now there's like a negative version of the video.
Yep.
Which looks like kind of like a boat, I'm gonna be honest.
I thought it was a remote control boat.
Looks like a boat to me. Long, kind of like a canoe, perhaps. The negative really made it seem clearer, in my opinion.
That video is actually still like argued about amongst professional people because there have been other things done to it and people have like brought it out more. I didn't find that video. I personally don't find it that captivating, but people have looked at it and apparently there's like a shape behind the protrusion in the water. I haven't seen that video, so I don't know. But this sparked something though, because Tim Dinsdale went on to be a part of a group called.
No.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, what's he doing out there at the lake at night filming?
These guys would go out there and look for Loch Ness for fun.
At night?
Yeah, there's guys who've dedicated like 30 years of their life.
What's there to see? It's
the monster.
Dark. It's dark. It's night. It's pitch black.
I know, but
probably not a lot of lights around the lake.
You don't seem to understand. Like guys, like there are guys who have left their wives and spent 35 years looking for the monster. I'm not even joking. Like there's guys who have left their families. They have created new lives to find this beast. There's people watching it all the time. There are CCTV cameras on the lake 24 hours a day at all times right now.
But if they found it, they would be heroes.
100%. There's like, I'm not even joking. There's actual like there's a guy called the Loch Ness Bailiff who patrols it on the Nessie 3 to try to find the monster every day.
Is that the name of his boat?
No, sorry, it wasn't the Nessie 3. I think it's the Rival. The Rival 3. I think it was. But there's other boats like called that. But they all have boats and like there's guys who literally spend their life looking for the monster. Like it's insane how much his time is dedicated to this.
I think he'd have better luck finding Bigfoot, honestly.
Well, honestly, I'd have to agree with you on that front. And the reason I do is because of the loch being attached to the ocean and the loch also reportedly possibly having tunnels to the ocean.
Tunnels?
Yes. Now, I know that sounds far-fetched.
A little bit.
But other lakes that have sea monsters or lake monsters across the world, they're all within the same latitude, longitude area sort of thing. Sorry, which...
Does this include the Okanagan?
Yes.
Oh.
So, like...
What about Georgia?
Lake Champlain, the Okanagan, lots of the big ones where the most sightings are seen are on the same points for longitude. And they all go along those all the way across the world between those two. So there's like a point to the south and a point to the north, and in between there has the most monster sightings in lakes. Lake Baikal in Russia is another one. I think there's the lake in Lake Como, I think it's in Italy. The lake in Italy that has a monster as well. They're all kind of along the same part of the world.
I'm seeing here that there's one in Georgia. The Altamaha River.
The Altamaha.
Yeah.
We'll get to that at another point.
Ooh.
Yeah, there's a lot of lake monsters.
I'll stop Googling. Go on.
I'm trying to do something on the Loch Ness Monster. Meanwhile, James, I'm looking up the other ones. I don't give a fuck about this fake shit.
Honestly, I just want to hear about Ogopogo.
We'll get there. So anyway, they're all within the same, like point of north and point of south. There's a copious amount of sea monsters.
Right.
And
lake monsters.
Sorry, lake monsters. General term is sea monsters, but you can't say that. Might find it offensive. But the
how dare you disrespect the fish?
And the reason they theorize tunnels is because other lakes that have apparent sea monsters in it all have the same sort of makeup. Extremely deep, almost made like a trench, and those have tunnels. Okanagan has tunnels in it.
Huh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, to attach to other lakes. So they theorize that possibly this also has the same thing since they're in the same area, probably built the same way. Anyway, people started to get really interested in the monster, and this started an actual group being made. In 1962, there was a group founded called the Loch Ness Phenomena Investigation Bureau.
Bureau?
Yes, a group of scientists and enthusiasts about the monster, and they were researching the entire lake. Now, this is still going on today. This is still a group. And this group files and organizes all credible Nessie sightings. To this day, there's been over 1,000 Nessie sightings since 1933 that are considered credible.
1,000 credible ones.
Credible ones. These are the ones that have been filed away. They're on a website. You can find all the pictures. I could show you all the pictures, but we'd be here for days. And also, they're all kind of the same. There's something in the water. You don't know what it is. There's a few good ones. I'll give you that. But anyway, so this started a whole new interest with technology and trying to find the beast. And they actually started getting some hits. In 1967-68, there was a sonar study done by the Bureau. And D. Gordon Tucker, who is the chair of electronic and electrical engineering at the University of Birmingham, got 3 different hits on the sonar. One was a creature about 10 feet long. Could have been a seal, who knows? And the other 2 were creatures 20 to 30 feet long that could not be explained on the sonar. And it appeared to be swimming with the boat. So they don't know what to make of that. Now, there's a lot of sonar hits. People are still interested in this beast. There's groups being made. So far, what are you thinking about all this stuff happening in the loch?
Well, we did basically disprove the first good chunk of it right off the bat.
We did, because I wanted to get that out of the way.
Yeah. That video, it looked like a boat to me.
Mm.
The photo before that by the castle didn't really look like anything.
Could be a wake.
Could have been anything.
Yeah.
Could have been a wake. Could have been a log, like a log with a bit of a bend in it, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know what that video is, but things like that's pretty.
Could have been hay bales tied together.
Could have been hay bales tied together.
They're in the area here.
You know what? Say what you will with people around Loch Ness. They're creative with their hoaxes. And this brings us to our next hoax.
Next hoax.
In 1972, there was a phone call made to the newspaper, the Inverness Report, I forget what it's called. But they called the newspaper saying, there is something floating in the loch. We don't know what it is. Come down here right now. People are going down here, and at this time, there was a big scientific research done at the time with several biologists were doing a thing for trying to find the Loch Ness Monster. So there was an actual group study going on, so everyone's excited. The scientists are going down. Oh my god, there's something in the loch. They go down there. There is something in the loch. It's floating on the surface.
Oh, what could it be?
They get on a boat. They go out. They catch whatever's out there.
Catch it.
They bring it to shore. Undoubtedly, they say, this creature is the Loch Ness Monster, and unfortunately, it is deceased. This was touted as son of Nessie, and it was unfortunately dead. Now, they picked it up. They were going to take it back for science. They had it loaded up in their vehicles. When all of a sudden, they had to get stopped by the police because it's actually law. Since the 1930s, you are not allowed to take anything discovered out of the loch. If the Loch Ness Monster is discovered in the loch, you are not allowed to take it from there.
The police told them this.
Yes. No, this is actual. This has been filed. This is government. Like, this is real. Like, you can do that. Like, it's like there's an actual thing passed where I think it's like the Loch Ness Act. You cannot take the creature from the loch. It's actually there, which is weird, but it's there.
So, sorry, they catch it, they drag it to shore. It's dead.
Yep. They drag it to shore. It's dead. It's confirmed dead. One man was quoted at the scene, "It's real. I put my hand in its mouth. It's a real creature." When the police stopped it and to find the beast and pull it out, it was confirmed to be an elephant seal.
An elephant seal.
Here's the thing. It was actually a hoax done by one of the scientists in the group on the other scientists. And what he did is he had a dead elephant seal. He patted its cheeks with stones. He threw it in the loch the morning of, letting it get all covered in debris, and then called the papers and got everything organized. So the next day, the papers would roll a story that they found the Loch Ness Monster on April Fool's Day.
I mean, if I just had a dead elephant seal, I'd probably do the same thing. I'm going to be honest. What else would he do with it? Throw it in the water and call the newspaper.
No, I don't. Again, I don't know what's with Scotland, but they do so much good fucking hoaxing. It's honestly, I'd be pissed at it, but it's honestly impressive at this point. Like, you want a picture of the seal?
Yeah.
I have a picture.
I want to see it.
Okay, this is what ran in papers, and this is what people believe to be the Loch Ness Monster.
This is what some dude put his hand in.
and claim that it's real. He put his hand in its mouth.
I would not put my hand in that thing's mouth.
I
Elephant
wouldn't-
seals are disgusting.
Have you not seen Deep Blue Sea? You don't put your hand near the mouth of any creature, no matter if you think it's dead or alive. This is the creature. It's a fucking seal.
Say what you will. If you've never seen an elephant seal before, and you lived in a place that and believed there were lake monsters,
That's a leg monster if I've ever seen one.
then that would, I think, look kind of like some sort of monster.
I just had to bring that up. It's funny, but I want to get back to the serious stuff.
Okay.
But I had to tell you about it.
No time for silly business here.
No, it's a serious podcast. I don't laugh. All right, now in 1972, same year, there was actually a real study done on the loch by Robert Rines. Now, this is the more captivating, one of the more captivating Ness Sea encounters that I've seen. Robert Rines had a great idea. What if we use sonar with the combination of a submersible camera with floodlights? This is a new tech. What if we put the camera under the water? We've only got cameras above the water so far. So, that's smart. You want to find a beast? Use all you got.
Makes sense.
So, here's the thing. When they're starting to scan with sonar, they did have several hits of 20 to 30 foot things under the water. I think at least 3. So when they got that, they put the camera down. They're like, okay, let's go to where we see the bleeps, and we'll see what we got. And they got something, buddy. They got something that's perplexed us for years.
Is it another log?
No. This is actually pretty impressive. This is known as the Robert Rines flipper photo. Feast your eyes on this.
You know what? I would describe that photo as a flipper, perhaps.
Yeah.
No flipper I've ever seen, but a flipper nonetheless.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's an interesting photo. So we got something. We got hits on the sonar and we got a flipper photograph. Now, Robert Rines was settled. He's like, you know what? That's something. I think that's enough evidence that we can keep looking for shit. So we did another trek in 1975, and we found even more shit. More sonar readings, and we got 2 photos from that.
2
2.
sonar photos?
No, 2 photos of the creature. So here's for an example of how hard it was to take a photo back then, let alone now, under the loch. Here's the divers at Robert Rines' expedition in 1975. They try to take a photo underneath the water. That's a man.
Yeah, not the best photo I've ever seen, but I could see that being a man underwater.
Yeah, so that's just for example how hard it is to take a photo underwater. Here's the next famous photograph from that. This is called the body photograph.
The body. The body of Nessie, presumably?
Yes, far away. They assumed it to be about 40 feet away in the image. They think it's the head up top with the neck going down to a body in a flipper.
This almost looks like a really poorly zoomed in satellite photo.
Almost.
From the top. But you say this is underwater.
This is under the water. This is not faked. This is a real photograph. But this is far away in the image. They don't know what it could be, but it's a compelling photo. So they're saying that that's like the head up there, and the neck comes down with the body and the flipper coming off.
Right.
I think they estimated it between 25 and 40 feet away from the camera. And based on that, that's about 18 feet long, head to body. So the size still matches if the dimensions are correct. Now, here's the most contested one.
The most contested.
Yeah, this one's kind of like, some people think it's absolute proof, like this is what the thing is, or this is a fucking tree stump. This is called the gargoyle photo. And this is of the same expedition, the same night, at about 4 a.m. This is apparently the head of the Loch Ness Monster.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what I'm looking at.
I don't either. They claim that like white spot is like the mouth opening, and there's 3 horns on top of its head. Now, that's the thing. I'm iffy on it. If it's something, it's terrifying. If it's nothing, it's nothing. They don't know what that is.
I do see why it's called the tree stump. It is it's kind of weirdly shaped thing.
They claim it is a tree stump. They call it the gargoyle photo.
Oh, the gargoyle photo. Yeah, gargoyle photo.
Yeah, they call it the gargoyle. So this was some more compelling stuff. They had some more sonar. Like, this is several sonar hits in a matter of 3 years, and with some pictures. We're going to fast forward to 1987. This is when the largest inspection of the loch, or largest investigation of the loch, was ever undertaken. In 1987, over 20 boats used their sonar to scan the entire lake, going north to south. This was done by researcher Adrian Shine, who is a enthusiast of the loch, and actually is one of those guys who like constantly is like looking at it, studying it. And they did a sonar of the entire loch. And they found a couple sonar hits like the other ones that were interesting, about 20 or 30 feet long. But they did find something at the bottom of the loch. And they kind of like scanned around the area. And they went down there and looked at it. There was a tree stump at the bottom of the loch in a similar area where Robert Rines was looking that looked like the gargoyle photo. And when you match it with it, it does look very similar.
So what's that tree stump doing all the way down there?
The thing is about trees in the loch is the way when they're filled with oxygen and lose oxygen, there's actually tree stumps that go up and down in the loch. So some are staying like in the middle, some are going down, and some are going up. So there are lots of sonar readings that have been like, okay, that's a tree stump, it's not moving. But then the ones that are moving is like, okay, that's something living. And that's how they kind of determine that something's there. But at the bottom of the loch, there is a tree stump in that area, like the end of a tree sticking up, and it looks a lot like the gargoyle photo. There's actually a photo of like the gargoyle photo kind of diagonal on top of it, and it matches up almost perfectly. So I think that's what Robert Ryan saw in that photo. However, the other two I can't explain. The flipper one definitely is the most compelling.
The flipper one so far is the only one that's looked like what it said to be.
Yeah.
Which is just a flipper, nothing else, just a flipper.
Just a flipper. But the thing is that
diamond-shaped flipper.
If you look at the photo and really take a look at it, it's like a flipper, and then it kind of connects to something here, but there's so many bubbles, you can't really tell. It's interesting, to say the least. After Operation Deep Scan, there's the usual sightings, people looking for Nessie all through the 90s. In 2001, Robert Rines did another expedition. This time, he didn't find as much. But what he did find was a carcass at the bottom of the loch. He got a photo of it. Actually, he got a video of it, but I got a photo of it. This is what he found at the bottom of the loch.
Was this on April 1st, perhaps?
This was not on April 1st, but it was at the bottom of the loch, something decomposing. And when they were analyzing it from the camera, they saw what they thought were barnacles and sea animals on it, like barnacles, mussels, stuff like that growing on it, which indicates that it was an animal coming from the ocean. So it could have been a whale, but it also could help the idea that there's a creature going back and forth between the ocean and the lake.
Right.
Which could also lean towards the plesiosaur aspect going back and forth between the lake. Who knows? Plesiosaurs were also found in this area millions of years ago. There's a lot of stuff pointing towards that. But
did anyone fish for one of the bones and do any tests on it?
They did not. I kind of believe that that's a whale that got stuck in the loch.
Right.
That's what I think. As the 2000s pressed on, Robert Rines did one last expedition for the monster. That was 2008. And he found nothing. No sonar blips, no pictures, nothing. And he came to the conclusion that the Loch Ness Monster had died out due to global warming. And the next year, Robert Rines died as well.
The perfect crime.
Make everyone believe and then die. But, yeah, so that was the end of the Robert Rines expeditions. And honestly, through 2010 2020, there wasn't too much going on. There's a lot of pictures that have been confirmed hoaxes. There is still evidence of the monster's existence in the lake and sightings and pictures.
Is there anything new and exciting from the Bureau?
This is all kind of contained with the Bureau.
Right.
The Bureau collects all the information. They do help going on the expeditions to find the beast and stuff like that.
Right.
But it kind of died out. And the thing is that it kind of died out at the same time phones kind of coming up and people started doing things.
Weird how that happens.
Yeah. But then something happened. In 2020, we had a pandemic.
Oh, yeah, that.
Yeah, that whole thing.
Thing. Everyone stopped going outside.
People had nothing really to do. Some guys were going out on their boats. And that's when they got something. Sonar hit. Modern day sonar hit. of something 20 to 30 feet in the loch.
I'll take your word for it.
I know it just looks like a blip because that's what they look like on sonar, but if you they have ways of measuring it off of that.
Of course.
So that's about 20 to 30 feet. Nothing that big lives in the loch. So they're like, okay, that's something. All right, interesting. But that didn't stop just there. There were other photos of the Loch Ness Monster's sonar readings. In 2022, there was another one of a 20 to 30 foot creature in the loch. Same sort of image blip on the radar.
Just a blip, 20 to 30 foot.
20
blip.
to 30 foot blip, our favorite little thing.
Are all these 20 to 30 foot blips over the decades, are those in just different areas? Or are those all in the same spot?
Different areas moving. And they're all like lots of them have been between 300 and 500 feet deep. There's been several little blips. This was in 2022. This was in 2023. Another one. Same size, different area.
Yeah.
Here's the one that I found interesting. This was in September of 2024. That one looks a little more like something.
Let me take a closer look at that.
This blip has what appears to be somewhat of like an appendages near the bottom and somewhat of a neck.
I think I could crudely describe that maybe as a long-necked turtle from a sonar blip.
You know what? Actually, I would kind of agree with you on that description.
Arguably like a Lapras from Pokemon.
Arguably like a Lapras. I wonder if the Lapras is based on that.
I'm just going to go ahead and say yes.
It's not the first time a Pokemon's been based on a cryptid.
Judging by the very first Reddit thread that I clicked on, it says Lapras could be based on the Loch Ness Monster ?
Well, that settles it.
AKA a Plesiosaurus.
There you go. We got it all fucking set right now.
Plesiosaur.
There you go. We got it all set right there.
Fun fact, in the red and blue beta, Lapras was originally going to be called Ness.
All right, that's a little on the nose.
And you know what? That did look like Ness in that sonar blip.
It did.
Very far away. Very
did.
small blip, but vaguely Lapras shaped.
Now, the reason these sonar blips were interesting is because in 2019, there was a DNA test done of the loch.
What?
They took samples of the water, like all around the loch, and they tested them to see what species were in the loch or have interacted with the loch. So anything that's touched this water, its DNA is in it. So they found different kinds of fish. They found seals. They found deer, small mammals, different kinds of bacteria, humans, like anything that touched it within the last 48 hours, it was there. But they did not find anything that was close to a sea reptile of the plesiosaur kind. Nothing really
They
new.
didn't find anything?
Nothing. But they brought up a theory. There was a lot of eels. A huge population of eels. And some people started to ask, what if the Loch Ness Monster was a giant eel? Just a species of eel that we don't know yet, because that could make some sense.
That would explain the hay bale photo.
But I was like, okay. Then everyone's like, okay, you know what? That's something, because there's like so many different descriptions of the loch of the monster, and honestly, the plesiosaur thing kind of did start when the times where people were hoaxing and stuff. So who knows what's in there? So everyone's like, okay, maybe that is it. But also, some people said, what if the creature, like the continued theory that the creature goes back and forth, freshwater to saltwater? Maybe it wasn't there the last 2 days. There was no recent sightings or anything. Maybe it's migratory. Who knows? Again, it's an unknown creature. We don't entirely know. And that basically sums up everything we have on the Loch Ness Monster. There are still sightings every single year. Thousands of sightings. Still sonar blips, still pictures. Till something came out. Recently. Yeah.
What could it be?
I'ma show you.
I can't wait to see it.
These photos were taken in 2023.
Oh, that's fairly recent.
But they weren't released till recent. And there's a reason I made this kind of the main event, because I was kind of losing faith in the Loch Ness Monster until I saw these photographs. And someone did something extremely smart that I wish more people did with cryptids.
AI generation.
No. Less of it. These are called the Chi Kelly photos.
Chi Kelly photos.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, she is a photographer. She was taking pictures of the loch, but she wasn't there to look for the monster. And to this day, she doesn't believe it's the monster because she doesn't know what she saw, and she doesn't want to say anything about it. She was just taking pictures, like doing nature photography.
Coward.
I know, take a goddamn stance. There are monsters out there.
Die on that hill. There is a fucking monster in that lake, and you found it, lady.
You know what, motherfucker? If my kid, he's gonna be like, Dad, is there such thing as monster? I'm gonna be like, yeah, there is. And you gotta fucking hide or you gotta fucking kill him. I'm like, I'm gonna raise my kid paranoid about this shit. He's gonna have a terrible childhood. But Kelly did something extremely smart. She used her camera and it had a function of taking several photos all at once. She took those photos and then put them together almost like a video. Why are you snickering?
That's just how a video works, basically.
I know that's how a video works, but it's different. It's like picture.
Yep.
Okay, it's like, I know that's how a video works, but you understand what I mean. Like, she connected them together to make like a video, like a stop motion animation type video.
Yeah.
God, don't make me feel stupid. I already know I am. Fucking spending actual time researching monsters. You really don't think this is a whole new low for me? Come on. This is no longer my spare time shit. This is what I'm doing now.
Literally nothing else you could be doing.
I could be learning a language. I could be, I don't know, doing pottery. No, I'm proving monsters exist to some guy who lives 30 seconds from me.
Trying to prove monsters exist.
So this is like all the footage put together, and there's zoom-ins on the most tantalizing parts of the video. The creature's apparently going to start from the right and keep moving in, and it's going to zoom in on the parts that it finds the most interesting.
Okay.
And to this day, she still says she doesn't believe it's the monster. She won't make a stand on it, so. But it's interested people enough.
Something just barely surfacing, moving along the water. Just barely surfacing.
Yeah.
All you can really see is the little bit of waves coming off whatever is just kind of hardly poking out of the water. Now, is that a buoy to the right?
I believe so.
So it is pretty small, whatever part of whatever is surfacing there.
I'm not entirely sure.
But also, I don't know how big that buoy is.
Exactly. It kind of looks like crocodile skin.
I don't think it could be bubbles from somebody scuba diving moving along the water.
Yeah, but you see, like, there's a solidness to it.
Well, that just could be where they're just bursting out.
See, that to me looks a little more like an animal. Because there's several parts. You see that?
Yeah.
I think there's a part, like, behind it, too, that they zoomed in on. Okay. Again, the skin looks weird to that.
Something moving around. It's changed directions now.
Yeah.
But it's still just barely poking out. It's weird that it keeps poking out and going back under and poking out and going back under.
Mm-hmm.
But it just barely.
Yeah. If it's a whale, you see it, like, breaching and stuff. Like, I don't know why it's doing that. That is the most compelling footage to me. James, do you see what that is? That is the most compelling thing to me. That was like a fucking alligator's head.
It did kind of look like it could have been an alligator's head.
Look at that. You can even see the eye shine. That's something weird. I don't know what that is.
Now,
Okay, but look at it, okay? So you can kind of see the bumps on the back. It kind of has that mouth on the side, kind of like an alligator, and that's an eye right there. So what is that? They don't have alligators in Scotland.
Well,
I'm asking you honestly. Like, I don't know what. Like, this is the thing that was like, that's something weird.
it is something weird. I don't know. It's too bad. It's like essentially like a stop motion time lapse type thing.
Yeah.
So you don't see. There's no smooth movement. There's just different frames.
Yeah.
And there's a frame of something out of the water, and then something not out of the water, and something out of the water,
Mm-hmm.
and that something out of the water is just a small bump that not very like you can't see it very clearly. It does kind of look alligator, crocodile, heady type shape for sure.
Right?
There's no long snout or mouth or whatever you would call it. Just the top of the head and eye type.
Do you not see that along the surface? Along the surface, you kind of see that mouth coming up like a grin, like the gators have. Like, you know, the gators, when their mouth comes up, it kind of comes up as like a bit of a crooked diagonal line at the very end.
Yeah,
it looks like that, kind of coming up at the back.
But the entire length of their mouths aren't that stubby.
For an alligator. This is a plesiosaur we're talking about.
Oh, that's right. Well, here, let me look up a plesiosaur and see what
Look up a plesiosaur skull. See what happens. Maybe there's something to it. And there's also more plesiosaurs. Like there's a Lasmosaurus. There could be undiscovered ones that we don't know. Plesiosaur is just kind of like the general term. But to me, that looks like a fucking crocodile in Loch Ness.
Let me just say, a plesiosaur skeleton is terrifying.
It is. The teeth, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking nuts.
Well, looking at CGI generated photos of plesiosaurs, that looks like it could be like a little plesiosaur head potentially.
It's something strange.
It is strange.
I don't know what that is. But we can continue.
Whatever it is breaching and going back under repeatedly.
Yes, it is. This is like the sped up version of it.
Kind of just going back and forth.
Yeah, so this all took the span of time in like real time, like it looks like maybe 2 minutes. You can judge by the timer there on the side of the image. So I don't know what to make of that at all. And to me, it looks like a crocodile's head. What are you thinking about all this so far? And this is just like what I thought could be the most.
Now,
yeah.
I'll play a little bit of devil's advocate here.
You play the devil's advocate. That's what I want.
We do live by the ocean.
We do.
Presumably, you have seen a seal before.
Yes, I have.
They like to just barely poke their heads out. And they move around and they poke their heads out and they poke them back under the water. Now,
if that's a seal, I'm a giraffe. That's not a fucking seal. That's all I'm saying.
The problem is, even in 2024 with our cameras, there's still no clear photos of anything.
This is true. There are no clear photos of anything.
So now, that was like a 2-minute. I guess it would have to be time lapse to be a 2-minute worth of video right there.
It was a time lapse. You can tell from the side there. It was like showing the real time. It was a bit about what was it? About 3 o'clock, like close to 4 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
When she was taking the images, according to her camera timer, and it looks like the event took over the place in like a minute and a half. I have no idea what that was, and that's to me like the most interesting thing. That doesn't look like what that was. It doesn't. It doesn't. Look up a crocodile with its head out. James is adamantly looking up seal heads to prove that they do not look like what was in those photos.
You know, looking up crocodile head, it looked more like a seal than a crocodile.
Let me see. I don't think so. Because if you look at the side of the head, look at the side of it. You can look at the side profile of a crocodile.
Yeah, I guess they can kind of poke their eyes out and have their snout mostly back under the water, but
to me, it
was not long. In those photos, those breaches, there was not a single breach that was long like a crocodile.
I know, because it's not a crocodile. It just looked like a crocodile. And to me, it looked more like a crocodile. Or an alligator. Probably an alligator because of how stubby the snout was. Crocodiles had more of the longer snout. I think they looked more like an alligator.
Here, let me look up alligator for the fun of it. They are a little shorter, but not too different. I'm getting some of the exact same photos.
And if you're gonna put it into like actual like the families of monsters, plesiosaur is not related to a crocodile. Crocodile's actually more related to like
themselves because they're ancient.
Yes, like Postosuchus and stuff like that. But even those creatures were more dinosaur-like in the way they looked. So I think it was like just like a bigger crocodile with larger jaws, or bigger alligator with larger jaws. They're all kind of in that family. So if this is a plesiosaur, this is a different animal with a family that doesn't exist anymore. This could be something completely different. I'm just saying it looks similar to an alligator. Way more than a seal. The bumps in the back of the head, that I have seen seals in the water all the time. Us living on the coast, we see seals. We know what they look like in the water. But to me, that is not a seal. And also, we have pictures of seals in Loch Ness, and they don't look like that.
Whatever it was definitely something.
In conclusion, we have reports of this creature going back 1,500 years. We have a sighting, at least a few sightings every year on average. We have evidence to support that there is a connection between the ocean and the loch itself. There's been several videos, pictures. I could show you more pictures, but again, actually, you know what? I'm going to show you one picture that was taken in 2011.
I would love to see it.
And the reason I'm going to show you this is because it kind of looks like the bumpiness we see on the back of the head of that creature in the Cheek Kelly photos. I forget where this is from or who the source of the image was, but this is apparently a creature flowing beside his boat in the loch. And you can kind of see the bumps rising from the water from the back of its head.
It's a wave among waves.
Zoom in. There's something there. The difference between a wave and something there. There's something protruding the surface.
There is, but it looks like there is kind of something protruding the surface, but it is not shallow and rounded. It is has more of a peak to it. It's more.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that's something like coming out like a hump. That's like the back of it or something, but it goes with the rest of the G. Kelly photos and some of the other photos we've seen where you see those kind of ridges on it, like the bumpier skin. I think we have lots of images. We have lots of video. We have different theories on what the creature could be. We have people constantly looking at the log, finding sonar readings, finding stuff about the monster. What are you thinking, James? What have I done here? Have I made a decent enough case for the monster at all?
Let me hit you with a couple rapid fire questions.
Give it to me.
Do you think there's one or multiple Loch Ness monsters?
I'm not a believer of there's one of anything. I believe if there's something out there, it's an animal.
Yeah, because there's no shot that if there was one, that there would just be one single one and it was just living forever.
No, that makes no sense. So, in my opinion, like when the people are always like, "Oh, the Loch Ness Monster was seen 1,500 years ago. It's probably dead now." It's like, no, that if there's something's there, it's an animal. I think there's a species of them. I don't think they're just in the loch. I think they're
like you mentioned, and like we know because we live relatively close to the Okanagan.
Mm-hmm.
There are more sightings of Loch Ness style monsters around.
Yep, it's not the only one.
These aforementioned caves.
Mm-hmm.
Have any caves actually been discovered in Loch Ness? Tunnels or whatever you call them?
I don't know. I don't believe so.
Just
I think they're theorized based on lots of people say, "Oh yeah, there is tunnels." Like locals around there say there is.
I feel like with all the research and searching done in this lake specifically, they could find a tunnel if nothing else. Have there been any submarines that have gone down? Any sort of manned submarine type thing?
Oh yeah, there has. Nothing's been confirmed. According to some other things, there's mixed reviews on the tunnels. Apparently, there are tunnels that lead to other lakes and stuff. But there is a river that leads to the ocean, River Ness.
Does the river have a waterfall?
No.
Just thought I'd check.
Fucking Nessie coming up like salmon. Fucking.
You have to ask the important questions. Like,
you know what that is?
Is it reasonable that a Loch Ness monster can go up a waterfall? Or
yeah.
If there is no waterfall.
We're asking the real questions here, James. But yeah, no, there has to be a species. Also, with the connection of it to the ocean, we've only explored about 5% of our oceans. So who knows what else is there? We actually just got that whale species that was only never seen alive, and now we've seen it,
Yeah.
We just got this is our first live specimen we've ever seen. And they believe that the males have tusks based on the skulls. So, like, there's weird things down there that we don't know about.
Hold on. What are you talking about, this new whale species?
Have you not heard about that?
With tusks?
You not heard about that?
No.
You know that whale they found with, like, it was like kind of like a dolphin crossed with a whale?
No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
No, you never seen that? It was in the news. I'll show it to you.
I get all my news from Instagram Reels, and I've not seen that one yet.
Like a true man of culture.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I just think there's a lot to this case. I think there's a lot of stuff been found. I think the eel theory is very compelling with the DNA tests in 2019. But I just think there's a lot of science that goes into this creature. like there's a lot of other creatures out there that science doesn't tempt itself with, but this is one of them. So I find that interesting that so many people look for it and people go looking for it and they come back with stuff that's not confirmed evidence, but at least something to talk about, like with sonar readings, different kinds of images, stuff like that. I think if there was a creature, it could live in the loch from how big and deep it is. But what are you thinking right now?
I'm thinking clearly the story has been around for a very long time.
Yeah.
There have been many thousands of alleged sightings, from what I understand. Not all those sightings, add up. Like the very first one you talked about, the thing going across the road.
Yeah.
Seemed like it could be more like the, like we said, that Lapras style creature.
Yeah.
But then the only photo we have that is anything like that was the remote control dinosaur boat.
Well, not necessarily. If you count the Robert Rhines photograph.
Which one was the Robert Ryan? Like I know the flipper one, but what was the other one?
The body. That was this
Oh, that white.
there's some photos there, but also science has said that if the plesiosaur was a creature that lived today, it wouldn't lift its neck out of the water like that because it would be too heavy.
Yeah, no, it looks like it's got a thick head on it.
So it would most likely use that just for like bending and catching prey under the water, but it would just come up with just its head, like how people cite it with just like riding the surface. That's what they say. That's what scientists says. But also, the plesiosaur has never encountered a human before, so we don't know.
Yeah.
So coming down to it, James.
Right, it's all led up to this.
On our scale from 1 to 5, 1 being I'm fucking nuts, 2 being I'm skeptical, 3 being I'm on the fence, 4 being okay, I think there's something there, 5 being I'm a believer. What are you thinking about the Loch Ness Monster?
The Loch Ness Monster, I'm going to give a 2.
Okay.
I don't buy it.
Okay.
Yeah, you did show me quite a bit.
Yeah.
We did also disprove that quite a bit as we went through it.
Yeah.
A lot of it's been hoaxes. A lot of the more compelling evidence could have been more compelling, in my opinion. There was that one photo of the flipper that looked like a flipper, and that's it.
Yeah.
The other photo of the body was just nothing to me.
Yeah.
Amongst many of the other photos. There was that one sonar that looked...
There were several sonar hits, but there was the one that
there was
looked
that
really
one that
good.
actually looked like not just a blip on a screen.
And that was in September 2024.
2024, yeah.
Yeah, it was only months ago.
Well, hey, if more comes out, I'd be happy to revisit it.
Okay.
If they get more, but at the moment, I don't buy it.
Not enough for you to go past the fence.
It's no.
What do you think about the eel theory? That it was just a bigger eel that we haven't really figured out yet.
Now, if it were an eel, I mean, that'd be cool. I don't think I've ever heard of any giant eels, though, in general. They get pretty big, but I've never heard of any giant eels.
Yeah.
Generally, giant sea creatures are, aside from whales, perhaps, live pretty deep in the ocean.
Yep.
And the Loch Ness just isn't that deep, comparatively.
800 something feet.
Yeah, that's nothing.
That's the deepest we found. We actually recently found out that it was over 800 feet. It used to be 750.
And that's got nothing compared to deep sea creatures in the ocean.
It doesn't. But also, eels don't typically live like abyss.
No, but I'm talking about giant creatures.
Well, there's giant creatures.
Deep sea gigantism, I believe it is called.
Yeah, there is that. But also, we have big creatures like sharks that get up to 20 feet that live closer to the surface.
Yeah, true enough. Sharks, whales.
Different things like that. Oh, and here's that giant, that new whale species I told you about. It's like a toothed whale. It's like a mix between a dolphin and a whale.
Dolphins have teeth.
Yeah, but this is like a mix between a dolphin and a whale. It's a whale species that's never been seen alive. I think the last one that was seen dead was like 1872.
Neat.
Yeah, so that can go undetected for over 100 years.
Yeah, and it looks like it's pretty big too.
Yeah. So, but anyway, you know what? I understand. It is hard to prove a sea monster.
Or lake monster, who knows?
Yeah. But you know what? If more comes to light and I can try to bring more to you, I will.
Now, here's what really matters.
Let's get down to the nitty gritty. What's happening?
What is your opinion on the Loch Ness Monster of Loch Ness, Scotland?
I believe something's there. I'm a 4 out of 5.
You're a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, I believe something's there. For me, it's the Chi Kelly photos. I think those are the most compelling photos I've seen of Loch Ness. The flipper photo is amazing. I think that's a crazy photo to get with a massive submersible with lights. I think there's something to the body photo and stuff like that. I just think also the reason I kind of had like there's something there, but like I'm not a full believer is because I think there's something to the eel theory, and also there's so many hoaxes, and
There are a lot of hoaxes.
And the Loch Ness Monster is like one of Scotland's biggest financial things. Like everyone talks about the Loch Ness Monster.
When most of the proof consists of something vaguely floating in the water,
yeah,
it's easy to hoax.
It is. And so who knows how much of that is wakes, how much of that is a seal just below the surface.
Every photo is so bad, too.
Lots of photos are bad. I showed you the ones that I thought were the best, in my opinion. You can always look up more and figure out for yourself, but those are ones I thought were the most compelling. The Chi Kelly ones, I think, are the most compelling, hands down, bar none. But other than that, yeah, it's just hard to find. Anyway, so I can't convince James this week, but that's okay. I'll bring him something else, and hopefully I will get him next time.
Hopefully. I would love to be convinced.
I want to convince you.
I want to go deep in this world of cryptids and monsters and whatnot.
I'm honestly loving it. This is like my favorite time. We talk about monsters and I can convince you shit. I love it. But yeah, anyway. I can't pull James across the fence this week, but hopefully next week I can give him something else that maybe I can convince him.
Maybe.
Any final words, James?
Be careful in the water. You never know what's going to come up and bite you.
Wise man with wiser words. See you later. See you later, everybody. Thank you for listening.
Scotland forever!
Freedom!